Scotland's ACES Journey.
Music composed and recorded by Primary 6 at Victoria Primary School, Edinburgh.
Portraits by Susanna Jeffries, an illustrator based in Edinburgh.
Graphic design by Brett Housker of Connected Baby.
For the past 2 decades, Scotland has been on a journey. We've been trying to act on the scientific discoveries being made about adverse childhood experiences, trauma, and relationships. This video tells the story of that journey.
In early 2005, the Violence Reduction Unit is founded, based in Strathclyde Police. It is led by 2 senior members of the force, John Carnican and Karen McCluskey. They work to have violence reframed as a public health issue. Relationships are at the core of their thinking.
Later, in 2005, Harry Burns is appointed Chief Medical Officer. He talks continuously to audiences about attachment, ACEs, alienation, and the triumph of hope over despair.
In July 2007, the Scottish Violence Reduction Unit hosts a major 3-day event in partnership with the World Health Organisation's Global Campaign for Violence Prevention. Held at the Police College in Tullyallen, several hundred people attend. The speakers include Dr. Vincent Folletti, co-author of the ACE study.
The years between 2008 and 2016 have been described as a period of tilling the cultural soil. There was little public awareness of ACEs. The messages repeated by key speakers emphasising the role of relationships in human thriving were important in shifting that. This period nurtures the foundations that could give rise to a dynamic ACEs movement.
In April 2016, the Glasgow Centre for Population Health hosts a seminar on the science of adverse childhood experiences. Jane Stevens is invited as their international guest speaker. Based in the USA, Stevens had founded the ACEs Connection Network in 2012. Members of the centre are keen to learn from her experiences of conveying ACEs information to the public.
In November 2016, NHS Health Scotland invites Sir Michael Marmot to chair a conference on tackling childhood adversity through a public health approach. Attended by 200 professionals, it is intended as a call to action for identifying next steps. The associated report, Polishing the Diamonds, gains traction amongst the general public.
The Scottish ACEs Hub is created as one of the follow-up steps to the Polishing Our Gems conference. Overseen by NHS Health Scotland, the Hub brings together leading voices from a range of sectors. It provides a site of leadership and direction for design and strategy that addresses ACEs.
The Scottish Premier of Resilience is hosted by 2 small grassroots organisations. The film's director, Jamie Redford, is in attendance along with a packed audience of 100 people.
Intense interest in resilience leads to an unexpected tour of the film, led by Connected Baby and Reattachment, the 2 organisations who brought it to Scotland. Over the summer, 25 community screenings and panel discussions are held. Most are sold out. Over 2,500 people see it, with many calling for further screenings.
Community networks start to set up their own ACEs hubs, spreading the word with events and talks. Activist Tina Hendry is a major driver of this activity. In time, all 32 local authorities in Scotland would host at least one hub.
In June 2017, the ACES Scotland Forum grew spontaneously out of public hunger to better understand how the science of ACES can help in personal lives and professional practice. Its social media base makes it easy for people to become involved. Within only months, thousands of people have joined.
The energy of Scotland's spontaneous grassroots ACES movement ripples out to Northern Ireland. The two leaders of the organisation, Connected for Life, are inspired to host their own tour of the film Resilience.
In September 2017, Fife Council chooses to focus on ACES for their conference held by their Education and Children's Services Directorate. This helps policymakers think about how they can integrate this knowledge into their planning. Local screenings of the film Resilience are scheduled, and within a year, 4,000 more people will have viewed it.
"2017 marks the year in which the terms adverse childhood experiences and trauma begin to be used regularly in the Programme for Government, published annually by the Scottish Government. It signals a shift in policymakers' understanding of the long-term consequences of childhood distress.
November 2017 sees the publication of two books that provide in-depth insight into ACES within a Scottish context. Carol Craig's Hiding in Plain Sight reflects on the history of Scottish culture. Darren McCarthy's award-winning Poverty Safari tells the story of growing up in poverty and anxiety.
In December 2017, the biennial survey conducted by the Scottish Prison Service inquires for the first time about prisoners' exposure to ACEs. The decision to include these questions was one of the outcomes of the 2016 Polishing Our Gems conference. Nearly 50% report seeing or being subjected to physical violence in their home as a child.
In 2018, the board members of NHS Ayrshire and Arran decide to take forward trauma-informed work across the whole of their health board. They publish a strategy document which contains the core message that trauma is everyone's business. Over the next year, more than 50 screenings of the film Resilience take place, with many staff describing their insights as compelling.
The National Trauma Training Programme is designed with a big vision, an entire workforce informed about childhood trauma and ACEs. Funded by the Scottish Government and delivered through a partnership of agencies, it offers a range of freely available training resources. They enable anyone from any sector to understand the origins of and responses to trauma. A central theme is the power of relationships in prevention and recovery.
In June 2018, Scotland's newest independent learning festival, held at Portobello High School, draws 300 members of the education community in its first year. Its three organisers make sure that the focus is on relational practice, and they make clear its connection to the unfolding national conversation by giving it the title ACES: the science, the reality, the responses.
In June 2018, a cross-party group is established within the Scottish Parliament, bringing together politicians, organisations and individuals keen to collaborate on the challenges presented by ACEs. The group signals the breadth of their considerations by choosing the title of CPG for the prevention and healing of adverse childhood
In August 2018, Falkirk Council decides to make sure their new teachers know about childhood trauma. They asked the head teacher at Brainsford Primary to help lead this. She always tells the story of how she ripped up the behaviour policy she had written and replaced it with a relationship agreement.
In September 2018, two organisations, Tigers and Connected Baby, host a two-day conference with an ambitious title, Making Scotland the World's First ACE-Aware Nation. The global campaigner Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris is invited as keynote speaker, with a massive 2,300 people attending. The phrase ACE-Aware Nation begins to be used widely.
Foster carer Suzanne Scott leaves the ACE-Aware Nation conference with her life moving in an unexpected direction. She's so inspired by what she's heard that she sets up the charity Trauma Informed Parenting. The workshops they deliver are soon described as transformational.
Debate about the ACEs framework has existed for some time within the academic literature. As ACEs have become better understood amongst the public, the reach of the debate expands in surprising ways. By October 2018, mainstream media and professional magazines feature discussions about research methods, terminology, and appropriate practical applications.
In November 2018, the annual report of the Director of Public Health in NHS Highland focuses on adverse childhood experiences. It brings together a range of relevant evidence, considering not only recent challenges but also their intergenerational histories, such as the clearances of the 18th century. The report calls for a greater emphasis on relationships, listening and connection. These themes result in the report gaining a wider leadership than is often the case for public health documents.
In November 2018, the University of Stirling is recognised for their trauma-informed approach to nursing. The mental health undergraduate programme team become known for their innovative teaching practice. Students leave with more than confidence in their clinical skills. They see themselves as agents of change.
In January 2019, researchers at the University of Edinburgh investigate the prevalence of ACEs for Scottish children. Their findings are stark. 2 out of every 3 children have suffered at least one ACE by the age of 8. Boys are at greater risk, as are children living in poverty. Almost a quarter have suffered physical punishment.
Petooker East Primary School put ACE awareness into practice with a simple language change. Under the leadership of head teacher Jen Newson, they ceased using the traditional phrase challenging behaviour and replaced it with distressed behaviour. This shift helped to transform the school culture. Other schools began to follow their example. In 2019, they were commended in tests for their leadership.
Two individuals with lived experience of ACEs, James Doherty and Kim McGuigan, dream of bringing trauma specialist Dr. Gabor Mati to Scotland. In June 2019, with the help of the ACE Aware Scotland team, the Royal Concert Hall is booked, which easily accommodates the 1,900 people who come to learn more about the links between trauma and addiction.
Debate continues about the ACEs framework, focusing on issues including its conceptual basis, terminology, policy applications and funding. These critiques appear in the press, academic journals, professional newsletters, committee meeting minutes, and even in 2019 in performances at the Edinburgh Fringe.
Three West Lothian primary schools combined forces to create a set of teddy bear policies. The educational magazine Test named one of their teddies Farbo amongst the top 10 educational people of the year. He is regarded as a symbol of changing attitudes to ACEs in Scotland.
Following a 3-year listening process, Scotland launches The Promise as a commitment to children and young people whose lives are touched by the care system. You will grow up loved, safe and respected. The power of relationships to harm and to heal is core to its vision for 2030.
Launch of the document Realising the Ambition from Education Scotland is warmly welcomed by the early years sector. It is steeped in the language of relationships and attachment, and it draws explicit attention to growing national awareness of childhood trauma and adversity. Early year staff gain from it a sense of their importance in buffering the impact of ACEs.
In February 2020, Clydebank High School hosts its first ever Learning Festival, keen to contribute to the growing momentum on ACEs. The title, Nurturing Positive Relationships, reflects the ethos the school has successfully developed. A total of 600 people attend, and staff are later invited to speak at international events about how a relational approach helps to raise academic attainment.
The COVID pandemic in 2020 slows momentum of the ACEs movement. Many people use the knowledge they have gained to ensure that a sense of social connection is sustained during this time of stressful uncertainty. They know this will help to mitigate against long-term impacts. They worry not everyone realises the importance.
During the pandemic of 2020 and 2021, ACE Aware Scotland joins the rest of the world in moving online. The conversation series is broadcast live, featuring leading voices addressing prominent themes related to ACEs debates. These include human rights, screening, poverty and language, amongst other topics. The online format means Scotland can reach people well beyond our shores.
In July 2020, the BBC investigative series Panorama broadcast a television programme on the reduction Scotland has achieved in street violence. The journalist and producer Kate Silverton places the story within the wider ACEs movement, emphasising the breadth of its reach across multiple sectors.
In September 2020, questions on ACEs are, for the first time, included in the Scottish Health Survey commissioned annually by the government. Results show that verbal abuse is the most common ACE. Approximately 70% of respondents report an ACE score of at least 1 and 15% a score of 4 or more. These results suggest a high prevalence of adverse childhood experiences in the Scottish population.
In October 2020, Public Health Scotland gathers examples of trauma-informed practice within the housing sector. They consider council, private and housing association providers with the goal of showing how all housing services can be delivered in a way that recognises trauma. The words trust, stability and relationships appear frequently in the report.
In November 2020, the Early Years Arts charity Starcatchers launches an extended exploration of a fascinating question. What would a trauma-informed arts sector look like? The initiative is delivered online during lockdown, drawing participants from around the UK. Feedback shows they believe that wider society benefits when artists have a chance to consider their place in this movement.
The charity Iris, which supports the social care sector in Scotland by bringing together research and innovation, publishes a briefing on dementia. It emphasises the importance of relationships and attachment in providing dementia care. Terms such as stress, regulation, and trauma are included, signalling its links with the wider conversations unfolding across the country.
In June 2021, writer Simon Partridge publishes his latest article emphasising the historic links between the fields of attachment and ACEs. He explores forgotten overlaps in the language and frameworks, arguing that had the groundbreaking attachment theorist John Bowlby been alive today, he would have warmly welcomed the emergence of the ACEs field.
In November 2021, the Law Society of Scotland develops a certification course enabling all lawyers to become trauma-informed. It proves to be very popular. The impetus for the course has come from the growing number of criminal and civil lawyers who argue that justice and fairness is impossible in the absence of a trauma-informed perspective.
In January 2022, the Scottish Sentencing Council issues a new guideline on the sentencing of young people aged 24 and under who have been convicted of a crime. It requires a court to take account of the young person's maturity, including the impact of any ACEs, of psychological trauma, and of any language and communication needs. The importance of rehabilitation is emphasised.
As awareness gathers momentum, West Lothian College makes a commitment to becoming a trauma-responsive organisation. They launched the Trust Project, designed to support students who have experiences of trauma arising from, for example, the justice system or the care system. They would go on to win national awards for this development.
In June 2022, ACE Aware Scotland hosts its now annual conference by focusing on the question of how to bring greater compassion to prisons. International activist Fritzi Horstman is invited as a guest speaker, and partners include the Scottish Prison Service, Cisco, Trauma Aware Law, and the Scottish Violence Reduction Unit.
In September 2022, the Dental Hospital in Dundee sets out on the novel path of being the first to offer training in trauma to their staff. Participants report a boost in their confidence to care for patients with a history of trauma, and the outcomes are reported in academic journals. Dentists' awareness matters because there's a strong association between ACEs and poor oral health.
In August 2023, the charity Children's First leads a group of people to open Scotland's first Bairns House, creates a safe space for children who are victims or witnesses of violence to get all the help they need under one roof. Children help design the space and they hope it will help adults to listen better. Feeling heard is a child's right.
In August 2023, the Give Them Time campaign wins the battle. They change the law. All children can now wait to start primary 1 until the age of 5 if their parents request it.
That wish must be approved. Two strong mums, Diane Delaney and Patricia Anderson, have changed the future for all of Scotland's children.
In September 2023, Dr. Gabor Mate is invited to return to Scotland as part of his European tour. His insights on compassion fatigue and the links between mind and body are considered to be especially valuable in this post-pandemic period. the 600 seats available sell out in weeks.
Amidst the stories that emerge from the Adverse Childhood Experiences movement are those shared by parents. Knowledge about the stress system and emotional regulation boosts confidence and self-compassion, altering how parents relate to their children. Many feel able to talk publicly about those changes, such as mum Melanie Stewart, who in October 2023 described to her local newspaper how she had reduced her use of shouting and punishments.
In November 2023, journalist Neil Mackay publishes the latest in his long-running series of articles on boarding school abuse. He has been steadfast in his efforts to ensure this often hidden childhood suffering is made public. Survivors speak of their gratitude to the Herald for their willingness to reveal these shocking histories.
In February 2024, Trinity High School introduces their new relationship policy to replace their previous behaviour policy. Respect, recognition and consistency are central themes. Its creation has been a joint effort between staff, students and parents.
In July 2024, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child is finally incorporated into Scots law. Children's human rights must now be at the heart of policy and decision-making. This follows a decade of campaigning by children, young people and members of the Together Alliance. Celebrations follow.
In October 2024, ACE Aware Scotland's annual conference features two esteemed speakers with vast experience of building community by focusing on relationships. Epidemiologist Sir Michael Marmot and the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, bring insistent hope that health inequalities really can be tackled. The online event allows attendance from far afield. The message is that healthy human lives depend on connection.
In November 2024, Anam Alba bring their captivating production to Fife, demonstrating the power of the creative arts to forge new ways of talking about trauma. Based on the story written by Nikki Murray and illustrated by Sylvia Lynch, this metaphoric tale of loss reminds us of the courage it takes to trust.
In autumn 2025, the enduring influence of the Scottish Violence Reduction Unit is highlighted in a new book, following research published by the University of Glasgow. The researchers will reflect on the power of storytelling in bringing about social change, exploring how the narrative around violence has shifted from criminality to public health. Poetically, they draw links with the oratory tradition exemplified by St Mungo, patron saint of Glasgow.
We know there are lots more of you out there than we had space to feature in this film. That's why there are steps afoot that will let us collect all the stories of change from anyone who wishes to share theirs. Every story helps to show what is possible.
If you want to know more about our ACE's journey in Scotland, you can check out any of the following: our ACE Aware Scotland YouTube channel, the publication by Suzanne Zedijk and Simon Partridge in 2023, and this video in booklet form.
Thank you to everyone who has been part of this journey.
Thank you for your commitment and courage and care for childhood.
We look forward to welcoming many more of you as awareness of ACE spreads.
Marking 20 years!